In every custody and divorce case in the state of Mississippi, the court requires what's called an 805 financial statement. This is just simply a listing of each party's statements of finances and what their assets and liabilities are. This can be one of the most frustrating things for clients to understand, and also for the courts and the attorneys to deal with. It's simply that it's very cumbersome to actually fill out. It can be hard to obtain tax returns and W-2s and those sorts of things to gather before the court. And also, people like their privacy, so they often come to us with questions about why they have to produce this for the court. Simply put, the rules require disclosure of all the assets and liabilities for any kind of divorce case. And in the cases of custody, then child support is always an issue, and the court wants to see what each party's income and ability to pay child support is. So I'll go through this form with you, and it's located on the screen. The first part is just a recitation of what your name and address and the name of your children, if any. The second part is a listing of what your income is and deducting out taxes and mandatory deductions, and also a list of all your expenses. The list of expenses can be very difficult for some people to go through. It is not your household expenses unless you pay all of those expenses for your household. It is simply those expenses that are allocated to you, and if your children live in the home, then what it costs to feed and clothe and support your children. We will send this form to you in PDF form for you to fill out. We can send it to you in Word if you want it in that format, or we prefer to actually send it to you in an Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet is super easy to put in the numbers and to calculate what your income is versus your expenses. In custody cases, that's really all we need is the income and expenses plus last year's tax returns and W-2s and potentially some pay stubs for the current year to determine what current income is. If you've been on a job for a long period of time, you pretty much know what your income and deductions are going to be. If you work in construction or offshore or other industries where there's a lot of moving around, you may not have a good gauge on what your income is on a yearly or even monthly basis. If you're self-employed, this even gets more difficult. But we can work with you on what your real income is and present it in the best way possible for court. In custody cases, we do not need usually a list of assets and liabilities, though those liabilities can help give the court a good picture of what your expenses are each month. Lastly, in a divorce situation, the court will need a list of not only the income and expenses, but also the assets and the liabilities. So you'll have to list all land, personal property, vehicles, four-wheelers, boats, everything that you own, and then all the notes that are attached to that and what it costs to upkeep those particular assets. Even if you have inherited property or have other property that you think is not important to a divorce, it's important to list this property and let's separate it out. Before court, we will look at your financial statement. We always need that financial statement well ahead of time to make sure that it's accurate. Again, this is one of the most frustrating parts for a lot of clients to understand, but it is extremely important that we have accurate information in this regard. Other videos we may send you will explain this in further detail about how to actually calculate this income, but those are the basics for now. Thank you.